Hello! Today we're going to take a look at case requests. Case requests in Trackops allows a way to take information in on a case without actually creating the case. This is typically most useful as an intake form for new or existing clients. And a good way to take a look at this from the start is going to be by taking a look at our public case form. And the way we find that is we go to our login page, and here we are, and you select the Use Our Case Request form. You can select the case request form and it'll take you right to the public-facing intake form for our case requests. Great. So now this page you're going to see a unique URL up top in your address bar whenever you go there to your own case request page. And that link is going to be very useful. It's going to allow you to link that to your website, if you have a website, to a piece of text or an image, allowing your new clients or existing clients to go to this public-facing form and fill it out. It will then generate a case request, and then you can process it eventually, hopefully, as a new case in your system. But let's go ahead and walk through the steps of creating a new case request. So the first thing we're going to see is a small text field here. You are able to customize this information here, and that might be useful if you have particular instructions and pieces of information that you want to collect from your client. As we move down, we can see that the first thing that's requested is to select a case type. Now, depending on which case type you select, will correspond to any custom fields you created for that case type. For instance, if I select the infidelity case type, any of the following pages that I'm going to see when I fill out the case request will have custom fields pertaining or associated with the infidelity case type. The same thing goes with any other case type I have in the system. In this case, I'm going to start a workers' compensation case type. Now, there are some things that we do request and that are required for the new case request, and one of this is going to be the company name. Now, some instances, you might be working for an individual, in which case you can provide those instructions as how to fill out this particular field up top in the new case request instruction field. But the way that you do that, you just allow them to input their last name. And then in the contact information, we also need that information. You just have them put this information. So it looks something like that. So if it's an individual, they would provide this information as such. But in this situation, I'm going to pretend that I am an insurance company and I want to request your services for a workers' compensation investigation. So I'll go ahead and put in some basic information here. Obviously, you'd want to capture all this information, put in the company's address, city, state, and zip. And then the contact information. To start, really, the best information to capture is going to be their email address, and obviously you can round this information out later. Okay, let's go ahead and hit continue. All right, so this is the next page, and these are the case details. Now, the questions that appear on this page are going to be generated from the workers' compensation case type that I've already created in my system. So here you can see my custom field that I have for this particular case type is a date of injury, a date field. So I can input the date of injury here by selecting the date of injury for the claimant. I can select any case services that I have connected to this case type. I can insert my claim number for this particular case and insert the budget for this particular case and any additional notes and instructions. As I continue, I am going to go ahead and be defaulted to the claimant subject type. The claimant subject type for this case type is the primary subject type or the default subject type on the case type. And here, the basic information that we need, or the required information, is going to be the first and last name. Again, all of these fields on your subject type are custom fields. So if there's particular information you need for a particular subject type, you would add those custom fields to that subject type. Go ahead and we'll save the subject type and continue. Now we have the opportunity to add additional subject types if needed. Remember that you can only have one primary subject of the investigation at a time, but if there's other subject types that are relevant to your investigation that are connected to the primary subject type, you may consider adding those here. I'm going to click I'm done adding subjects. If I had any images or video or documents that I had to upload at this time relevant to the case, I would do so now, but I can skip this step at this time. And then the potential client would come to this screen, allow them to review the information, and then go ahead and select Save the Case Request and Finish. Great. So the potential client receives an email alerting them that their case request has been received and then eventually be reviewed. So let's go ahead and take a look at what it takes to review a case request within the system as a chief operator or as a manager. So here we are on our page. I'm going to refresh this real quick so we can see that the case request widget has one pending. And so let's go ahead and go to our case request section here. And we can see this is the case request that we just created ourselves. And I'm going to go ahead and take a look and see the process of bringing this case request into the system as a new case if we decide to do so. If we click on the link there. So if this particular client already exists in the system, you can find the particular client, the location, and the primary contact, and match that client. In the event that they're not an existing client, you will have to create them as a new client. So here we see we have some basic information. We have the title of the client name already input into the field because that was captured during the intake process. We could go through and input the rest of this information and save that client. And we also have to look at the new contact. In this case, it's me. I'm the new contact. I have the basic information right now for this contact. We can decide whether or not we want to allow this particular contact to have limited access, location access, or full access as a client. At this time, we'll leave it disabled until we have further correspondence with this client. We'll go ahead and we'll save this profile. All right, so now that we have all that information selected, we want to go ahead and match client to the items we have here. And it's created this client in our system now. So we have a new client. They filled out the form. We're able to add them to the system as a part of the case request process. So now we've reviewed the subject. We will take a look at any sort of information regarding the case request. And if this is a case that we want to accept, obviously we want to accept new work. If it's appropriate to our the investigations that we do, we want to go ahead and click Accept. When we do that and confirm that, this creates a new case. So this places the case request into the final step of a new case wizard. So this asks us, we're ready to save this case request as a case now, and it will then create and generate a case number, this case number right here, in the system, and then we can begin working on this case. As soon as we do this, by default, the system will send a notice to the client saying that we've accepted their case request, and we're now beginning to work on their case. Here we can, of course, follow through as if it were a regular case by assigning staff, creating an event, create a case update, or uploading any files as we see fit. Something to note, you can now see the case request is a related case for future reference. Now, let's take a look at editing that message on our case request. We can do that by selecting Settings, and then go to our General Case Settings. So this case request instructions section is right here in this section here, and you can see we can edit. This is just a text field. We can change this as we need to. The ability to create a new case request is permission-based. So if you wanted to make that adjustment on either your staff, if they get confused of the difference between creating a new case and a case request, and for your client. So the way you take a look at those permissions, you go to your settings, and then you go ahead and click on your user roles. Let's take a look at what we have here. So in this scenario, I'm going to take a look at my administrative staff. And the way that I have them set up is I have them having the permission to create cases and modify cases in several different ways, but I have removed their ability to create case requests. mostly because I don't want them to be confused as to which one to use. So you can see I have all the case request permissions unchecked. If I wanted to allow them to do case request permissions, obviously I would check what I need them to do and save it, but I like this the way it is. Now let's hop over to our client user role, and let's take a look at that. So if I go to my client user role, and we can see that they do not have any case permissions in terms of being able to create or edit cases. They have the permission to view cases. However, they can create case requests. And this is a permission that allows them to create a case request from within the system when they're actually logged in. It follows the same path as the public-facing form, but this allows them to log in and fill out the case request. Thank you so much for watching. Of course, if you have any questions, send us an email at support@trackops.com, or always click on the help button up top and select a submit ticket. Thank you for using Trackops.